The U.S. military is a world power with unmatched scientific progress shown by the creation of military aircraft that literally rule the skies with their amazing abilities. To the huge whale in the ocean that slowly glides through the water, ready to unleash its deadly power. This country is definitely a force to be reckoned with. What kinds of weapons does its most dangerous armed arsenal have? Is this country really at the cutting edge of technological progress? Come with us as we break down the military power of one of the most dangerous countries. Since the American Revolutionary War, the armed forces of the United States have worked to shape the past of the country. They helped bring the country together and give it a sense of identity. They were also very important in the growth of the U.S., even during the American Civil War. The U.S. has the world's strongest military, especially since the end of the Cold War. It spends more on defense than any other country, $916 billion in 2023 alone, or 37% of all global defense spending. Cutting-edge technology is made possible by this huge spending. The United States Air Force has about 800 bases around the world, making it the biggest air force in the world. The U.S. Navy, on the other hand, has the most ships of any navy in the world. The U.S. Naval Air Forces and Marine Corps aviation are also some of the best air arms in the world. The U.S. Coast Guard is the 12th largest marine force in the world. This mix of power comes from the air, the sea, and the land. The U.S. military is now the only one in the world that can project power around the world. Well, now that we know how strong this sector is, let's look at one of its most dangerous weapons, the B-83 nuclear bomb. In the late 1970s, the United States made this type of nuclear bomb and put it to use in 1983. This bomb has the power to set off a blast with 2 megatons of TNT of force. Since the B-53 was taken out of service on October 25, 1997, the B-83 has been the US's most powerful nuclear weapon. The Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory came up with the idea. This bomb was unique because it was the first US nuclear bomb intended to not go off by accident by using special insensitive explosives in its trigger system. It looks like the smaller B-61, but it has a charge in the front, which makes the nose heavy. With this design, it can be carried at speeds up to Mach 2.0 and sent from high or low altitudes for drops from low altitudes. It has a 46-foot Kevlar parachute that slows it down very quickly. This makes it useful for a variety of explosion methods, such as airburst and ground burst. Because it had a next-generation authorized action link and a command disablement system, the B-83 was full of high-tech safety features that made it useless without the right permissions. The first test was on December 15, 1984, but only with an 80 kiloton output because of the Threshold Test Ban Treaty. After the last B-53 bomb was taken apart in 2011, the B-83 became the most powerful nuclear weapon the US had. But in 2022, the Biden government said it would stop making the B-83 and replace it with the B-6113. The B-6113 has a smaller yield of 360 kilotons, but it is more accurate and powerful, and it is made to hit bigger and tougher targets. The USS Gerald R. Ford is the largest aircraft carrier and warship ever built. It is the center of American military power. Modern weapons, elevators, flying decks, nuclear power, and software-controlled propulsion systems are some of the more advanced features it has. Because it is more automated, it also needs fewer crew members. The 2 brand new nuclear power plants on these new carriers can make up to 3 times more energy than the old ones. This power can run a whole mobile city with food services, medical facilities, waste management, and plants that remove salt from water. Think about how high-tech this cargo ship really is. It really is a marvel of technology. This big, strong ship is 333 meters long and can go 30 nautical miles per hour. It has a flight deck that is 7,080 meters wide and is 40.8 meters wide. It weighs 100,000 tons, can start 160 flights a day, and is moved by bronze propellers that weigh 30 tons each. Compared to the Nimitz class, which came before them, the CVN-78 and other ships in the Gerald R. Ford class line have 23 new or better systems. Let's look at some of the computers that are running CVN-78. This big airplane carrier has dual-band radar, which blends the strengths of X-band and S-band phased arrays. The aircraft carrier can do more in a wider range of mission-critical settings thanks to its dual band. On the other hand, its open design software lets it be more autonomous with very little help from humans. This makes it better than the aircraft ship that was made before it. The radar has 6 faces, 3 for finding targets in any weather, and 3 for following low-flying objects. For the first time, 2 channels are managed by a single person. Because it doesn't move, it doesn't need as much help. The setup has 3 arrays above the decks and processing units below them. It gets its power from CAPS and its cooling from CAXS. Some ships will get a similar radar called EOASR instead, which costs less per unit. Let's talk about the launch devices in more depth. An electric motor helps the electromagnetic aircraft launch device better control speed. This makes it possible to launch drones at slower speeds and gives you more control over the wind conditions during takeoff. EMALS also makes planes and pilots less stressed, which increases the chances of safe trips. The USS Gerald has the most powerful weapons when it comes to both defense and protection. Surface-to-air missiles are on board. There are 2 MKISA T-29 launchers, each with 8 evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, and 2 MiG-49 launchers, each with 21 rolling airframe missiles. The Sea Sparrow is a short-range rocket that can change its course. Using radar for direction, it has a cylinder-shaped body with 4 wings in the middle and 4 fins at the end. It's the best way for ships to protect themselves from dangers in the air and on the ground, like high-speed and low-altitude cruise missiles that are designed to attack ships. It also has guns, including 3 Phalanx C/IWS 425 MEM machine gun systems and 2 450 EM machine guns. One of the newest systems made for the CBN-21 aircraft carrier design is the Advanced Arresting Gear. It is made up of energy absorbers, power conditioning equipment, and a digital control system that all work together to make running aircraft carriers easier and require less upkeep and staff. Electromagnets, not hydraulics, are used in this new, more advanced arresting gear device to slow down and stop landing planes. Even though the old hydraulic system has been good for more than 50 years, it can't catch unmanned aerial vehicles without hurting them. They can't use the hydraulic piston that is used for human planes because they are too light. The AAG system also controls energy absorption with a turboelectric engine. This makes the process easier and less stressful on the plane. From the flight deck, the AAG system looks the same, but it is more flexible, safe, reliable, and needs less upkeep and crew. A new type of nuclear plant is built into the new aircraft carriers. The A-1B reactor to make more electricity. The Nimitz-class A-4W reactor is bigger, more complicated, needs more people, and does less work. 2 reactors on each Gerald R. Ford-class carrier will give them at least 25% more power than the 2 reactors on a Nimitz-class ship. 3 times as much thermal power will be turned into energy. In the 1960s, the power and propulsion systems for Nimitz-class ships were planned when there wasn't a need for as much electricity. However, the new technologies that have been added to these ships have made them need more electricity, so there is some room for more power needs. Also, the Gerald R. Ford-class ships have 4 main turbine units that turn steam into electricity. This power goes to major systems and the new electromagnetic catapults. They move with the help of steam engines. The integrated warfare system needs the extra power flow very much. And engineers built the ships to work with new technologies that come out in the future. The Navy wants these carriers to last a very long time, so they need to be able to adapt to new technologies as they come out. Half of the available electricity is not being used right now. The other half is set aside for future systems. They have stealth qualities that make them harder to see on radar. Besides that, they can hold up to 90 planes, such as the Boeing F/K-18F Super Hornet and the Boeing EA-18H Growler. There are unmanned combat aerial vehicles, UCAVs, the Lockheed Martin F-35CA, the Lightning II Sikorsky SH-860 Seahawk, the Grumman C-2 Greyhound, and the Northrop Grumman E-2 Hawkeye. There are also a number of scary. The U.S. fleet has air fighters. The F-22 Raptor, the F-35, the F-16, and the F-15 are some of the most powerful jets in history and still are. Let's look at these planes in more depth and see why they are the definition of superiority. One of the most advanced fighter jets of its kind is the F-35, a Lightning II, which was made by Lockheed Martin. It has only been in use for a short time. It has flown for 20 different countries for almost 800,000 hours already. This strong jet can do many things, such as spy on enemies, gather information, and mess up their electronics. 3 different types of the F-35 were made to meet the different needs of the US military. The standard form, the F-35 AAU, is used by the Air Force. Like other fighter jets, this type needs about 8,000 feet of smooth track to safely take off and land. The F-35A is the cheapest and lightest model in the F-35 family because it doesn't need any special gear to take off or land. Even though the F-22 is an older 5th-generation fighter for the Air Force, it is still seen as one of the most advanced planes of its kind. IN-1 plane. It was the first fighter to have stealth technology, be very agile, and be able to fly at high speeds without using afterburners. The F-22's best feature is that it doesn't leave much of a radar trace. Its powerful engines let it hit speeds of overmatched 2.8, which makes it hard to find. Because of how it's built, the jet is both fast and hard for radar to pick up. Its wings and body are shaped so that radar can't see them clearly. It also has flaps and tails that help it control its flying. The jet hides its weapons inside so that radar can't see them. It can also refuel while in the air, and it has landing gear in case of an emergency. It also has safety features, like a system to put out fires and guards for its fuel tanks. The Air Force might get rid of the F-22 to make room for its next-generation air power program and save money. The F-22 is still very important to the Air Force, though, until the new 6th-generation fighter is ready. The F-16 Fighting Falcon is not old because it is always getting better. This fighter jet is one of the most common 4th-generation planes in use. Has a long and interesting past. It's been around for a while, but more than 2,000 F-16s are still in use today, with big improvements. A company called Lockheed Martin thinks that this famous jet could keep flying for the Air Force until the 2060s. Some of the newest block models of this plane have extra fuel tanks on top. This lets them carry more fuel and fly farther. They also come with a high-tech antenna, like the ones used by the F-22 and F-35 Eagle. A fighter jet that is a few years old has been updated with big changes. This brand new model, the F-15 X2, can fly almost 3 times as fast as sound. This fighter has the most weapons of any military plane because it can take up to 30,000 pounds of weapons. It can also be equipped with different guns for fighting on the ground or in the air. 2 General Electric F-100P W229 engines give the F-15 Eagle II its power. The Eagle II program was first passed in the 2020 National Defense Authorization Act. Each one will have about 29,000 pounds of thrust. The US has some of the most deadly bombers in history, as well as attack jets. One example is the very strong B-52 Stratofortress. The B-52 Stratofortress is a lasting symbol of greatness in aviation. It is known for its amazing legacy, which is based on its unwavering toughness and ability to respond to new situations, and a history of great service. People in the aviation world admire and fear this strategic bomber because it has shown a strong dedication to adapting to modern warfare needs. There are a lot of technical similarities between the B-52 and its predecessor, the B-47 Stratojet strategic bomber, which is interesting. These things they have in common include basic design features like their unique swept wings and use of potted jet engines. The crew cabin, which is an important part of any bomber, also has ejection devices, which shows that the plane is always concerned with the safety of its crew. The ejection systems in the B-52D model were made so that crew could escape in a number of different ways. The lower deck crew could eject downward, while the pilots and electronic countermeasures operator could eject upward. This was especially true in earlier B-52 types. The gunner who was in charge of defense fire had to ditch the tail gun in order to get away. It changed over time where the tail shooter was placed. In the first models, the tail gunner was in the usual spot in the tail of the plane, with both visual and radar gun laying systems. Later models had the shooter move to the front of the fuselage, and radar was used to lay the guns, which was similar to how the B-58 Hustler's tailgun system was designed. A big step forward was reached in September 2006 when the B-52 became one of the first U.S. armed planes will use fuels other than gasoline. This success was a big step toward reducing the military's use of conventional fossil fuels and taking care of the environment. The US didn't stop there, even though they were successful. Putting $630 million into the project, the US has started making a new strategic bomber. This bomber would have features that would give its enemies the creeps. The B-20 Raider is unique, but that's not all that IT is made with features that make it the best. The goal of the Long-Range Strike Bomber program was to make a strategic bomber with modern features that would replace the old bombers. This bomber was part of that effort. In order to stay hidden from enemies, it is built to fly long distances for a long time. Stealthy traits. Also, it can carry many kinds of weapons, from simple bombs to very strong ones like nuclear bombs. The Raider is a big step forward in airplane technology because it is the first sixth-generation bomber in the world. It is similar to the sixth-generation NGAD fighter that is currently being made. Even though the US military is very strong and has never lost, the country has worked even harder to make something truly amazing. The United States has kept its position as a leader in technology progress. Building on the success of the 5D generation platforms, the 6D generation fighters are made to adapt to changing trends in air combat, such as the shift from traditional dogfights to long-range battles using air-to-air missiles that can't be seen. In the past few years, many countries have said they want to start working on their sixth-generation aircraft projects. This shows that there is a global push to improve military aviation. The US Air Force is one of the main groups working on the next wave of air-dominant stealth fighters. Arati Prabhakar, who was in charge of DARPAA at the time, said in 2013 that the US had begun looking into an air dominance plan. This got aviation fans all over the world very happy because the new plane was supposed to have the strongest engines, the most advanced sensors, built-in AI, and a swarm of drones flying alongside it by 2016. The Air Superiority 2030 plan was made when the US Air Force joined DARPA study. The United States Air Force's next-generation air dominance effort is a future-looking plan to make a whole new fleet of very advanced planes. The Penetrating Counter-Air Platform is a manned fighter jet that is at the heart of this project. It is meant to get through the most heavily guarded airspace and take on the biggest enemy threats. What's even better about the NGAD program is the help that these manned jets will get from unmanned combat planes, which are called Loyal Wingman platforms. These loyal wingmen will fly with the PCA and do different jobs, like surveillance, electronic warfare, and direct battle, while the human pilot in the PCA controls them. Using both manned and unmanned systems together will make a strong and flexible army that can handle a lot of different types of battle. The NGAD program isn't just about making a better fighting plane. It's about changing the way air warfare is done. The NGAD plane will be able to work better and faster in the future's highly contested settings because it uses cutting-edge technologies like artificial intelligence, new propulsion systems, and advanced sensors. These new technologies will give the US unmatched flying superiority, ensuring that they can rule the skies for decades to come. Aside from that, NGAD's development process stresses adaptability and quick improvements. NGAD is made to quickly add new technologies as they become available, unlike older versions of aircraft that had long development cycles and few ways to get better. This plan makes sure that the NGAD plane will improve military aviation technology so that it can deal with new risks from enemies. In the next part of air dominance, the United States gains total air superiority with the help of a huge number of advanced drones called Loyal Wingmen, 35 very advanced F-35 Lightning II fighters, and most importantly, 200 brand new 6th generation NGAD fighters. Thanks for seeing. Click on the link that shows up on your screen to watch one of our other videos. Enjoy your stay here. See you then.